Yahoo. Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loko Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loko Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Prapta Sakalyana Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charana Vrindam Prapta Sakalyana Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charana Vande Guru Shri Charana Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charana Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charana Vrindam Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditramadhyam Manasurasena Mahaprabhu Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charana Vrindam Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charana Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shingaratanama Niramarjanado Juktasya Bhaktamsya Niyunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charana Vrindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satvana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satvana Triptan Kridvaiva Tripte Bhajata Shadeva Vande Guru Shri Charana Vrindam Shiradikama Bhavayara Para Madhurya Lila Gunarupanamna Shri Radhikama Madhura Lila Pratikshana Swa Danalalupasya Vande Guru Shri Charana Vrindam ne kunjayono rati kelisidhai jayali bhir yukti apekshaneya ne kunjayono rati kelisidhai jayali bhir yukti apekshaneya tatrati daksha ativalabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Sakshadharitvena Shamastashrashre Uktastathabha Vyataiva Sadhavi Kintu prabhorja priya eva tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Yasya prasada Bhagavat prasada Yasya prasadam nagati kutapi Yasya prasadam Yasya prasadam nagati kutapi Dayam stubam tasya yasatrin sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Jayam Suvantasya Yashatri Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Jayam Suvantasya Yashatri Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Jayam Suvantasya Yashatri Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatari Shatarine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatari Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Chaitanya Nityananda Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Hariyaraye Namah Krishna Jadavaye Namah Jadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namah Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghuna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Shri Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe Radha Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadrama Jaya Sudarshan Chakra Subhadrama Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman, Sitaram, Sitaram, Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Go, Haribo, Nitai Go, Haribo. Haribo, Nitai Gaura Pramanande, Haribo. Jaya Vishnupada Paramita Prabhajaka Acharya Sutara Sarasi Shimad ISKCON Pratishta Bhiviti Samstapakacharya Vaishnava Saramani Gaura Priyajana Krishna Prema Bhakti Datta Patita Pavana His Divine Grace Abhacharvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Hari Ki Jai Shri Gauriya Guru Vargapati Udhari Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai Nama Acharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai Jayananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Prem Si Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gauru Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Jai Param Dayal Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Prema Nama Sankirtane Ka Janaka Prema Purushottam Shri Sachinandana Shman Gauranga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaura Hari Mahavrana Avatar Ki Jai Golokera Pramadhan Harinam Sankirtan Jaga Ki Jai Jugadharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai Brihat Nidanga Transcendental Book Distribution Seva Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopina Radha Kun Samakun Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrajabhum Vrindavan Mathurudam Ki Jai Tilosh Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadvip Ek Chakradam Ki Jai Parama Karuna Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai Shri Purushottam Ketra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Swami Baladev Prabhu Smas Bhadhari Visudasanchak Bhagavan Ki Jai Bhakti Sarva Vigna Vinashana Kari Shingare Bhagavan Ki Jai Jaganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Vrindi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Bolo Shrimad Radharani Ki Jai Shamaveta Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai Nitai Gaurari Pramanandi All glories to the assembly bodies, all glories to the assembly bodies, all glories to the assembly bodies, all glories, glories to Shri Guru. Namaste Narasingaya.
Prahlada Hladadayine Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Shilatankanakalaye Itom Narsimha Paratom Narsimha
Itam Nisinga Paratam Nisinga
Yeto Yeto Yami Tatom Narsimha
Jato Jato Jami Tato Nisinga
Bahir Narsimha Hrudaye Narsimha
Bahir Nisinga Hrudaye Nisinga
Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapaje
Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapaje
Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare
Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringa Kesavadita Narari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare
Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare
Kesavadita Narari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare
Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Narasimha Dev
Jaya Nisingare Jaya Nisingare Nisingare Jaya Nisingare
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj
Jaya Pralamara
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev
Jai Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jai Jaya Gurudev
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Nittai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Nittai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Harish, Prabhu ki jai. May blessing of Tush Maharaj. Debai Priya Ke Sava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradi Devi Satavata Vrindai Tulasi Debai Priya Ke Sava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradi Devi Satavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Ke Sava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradi Devi Satavataye Namo Namaha. Jai Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki. Are you going to sing Tulsi prayer? No? Oh, Mother is going to sing on your behalf. Okay? Mother? You sing for him. Radha Krishna Seva Prabhu
Jito Mara Sharanalo Tara Pancha Purana Ho
Jito Mara Sharanala Tara Pancha kirayano tatakalo
सेवा अधिकारा दिए करो निज दासी
sevayane karaniye karani jadase
दीना कृष्ण दासे कोई ये न मोरा होए
Dina Krishna daseka namara
श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदा ये न भासी
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadai Namasi
श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदा ये न भासी
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadai Namasi
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्म हत्यधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
Kani kani sa papani Brahma hatari kani sa Kani kani prana santi Pradachina pani pani
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्म हत्यधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
Kani kani sa papani Brahma hatari kani sa Kani kani prana santi Pradachina pani pani
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्म हत्यधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
Kani kani sa papani Brahma hatari kani sa Kani kani prana santi Pradachina pani pani
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
राम हरे हरे जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
वृंदा देवी की जय।
जय। श्री वृंदाई तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रारे देवी सतवताय नमो नमः। वृंदाई तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रारे देवी सतवताय नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य कृष्ण भक्ति प्रारे देवी सतवताय जय श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंदा देवी की जय। Oh Tulsi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Who will take shelter of you as wishes fulfilled. Bestow your mercy upon him, make it resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also grant me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Kavatamsas of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant Krishna praise. May I always swim in love with Shri Radha and Govinda. Shri Mati Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Siksastakam ki jai. Cheto Darpanam Majanam Bhavamadavannivapanam Shri Akari Vachandrika Vitanam Vidyavalujam Anandavirojanam Pratipalam Purnam Saswadanam Samatma Snapam Bharadjeti Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Vaudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pita Niyamita Smarane Nakala Gita Vishitava Bhagavanati Durdhaivam Idrishamya Jani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saishnuna Amani Namana Dena Kirtaniya Sada Hari Na dhanam na janam na sundarim Kavitam vaja garishaka maye Mama janmane janmaneshwari Bhavata bhakti rahaitu kittvai Ainam natanuja kinkaram Paritamam vissameva vambudau Kripaya tava pada pankaja Stitaduli sadrisham vichintaya Nayanam galora shrudharaya Badanam gada gada rudaya gira Pulakai richitam bapu kada Tava nama grahane bhavisati Juga itam nimishena Chakshusha pravrusa itam Sunya itam jagata sarvam Govinda virahe name Aslishavapa pinashtumam Adarshnar marmahatam karotuva Jatha tathava vidadhatulam pato Matpranatastu sa evana para Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhastakam ki jai. Namo Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Prudayati Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gauri Krishna Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pracharini Virshesha Shunyavadi Pasatyari Satarini. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditioned life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govind. In these transcendental names you have invested your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause of devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharajananda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet some or rather I have fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from the ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes should be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if it sandals him roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikyastakam Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who dedicate their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literatures or literatures and pursuits of Vedic version. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are often Vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting the holy names, and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees, they can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Guru Pranam Ki Jai.
Om Aganyatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Sapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Pachikamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Ragunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Padijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pradam Sahaguna Lalita Shri Vishaka Nivitam Sha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamine Shivarsavanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktidan Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Apasidanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishwaraya Shakshadvairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gauravir Bhavabhamestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhama Shri Jagannathayate Namaha Vanshakalpatarabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gurachase Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Saktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Sulatur Bhangur Mama Manda Matergati Matsara Swapadam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vindaranya Kalpadumadaha Shimad Ratnagara Simhasanastito Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastali Bihi Sevyamanu Smarami Shiman Rasura Sarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsan Venuswaner Gopinataksh Vyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Brahmasmita Ki Jai Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Prakata Satma Sakalpa Vriksha Laksa Vrite Susura Rabi Baliantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kananda Rinda Dalaitaksham Barhavatam Sumasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Sobham Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasadvana Madhya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranay Keli Kalavilasam Shaman Chivanga Lalita Nita Prakasam Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakilandriya Vrittimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adhyam Purana Purisham Navayovanam Cha Vede Sadurlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavat Sarasam Pragamyo Vayoratapi Manasomani Pungamanam Sopyasti Yat Praparasimya Vichintya Tattve Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chaitam Jagadanta Kotyam Yas Chakti Rasta Jagadanta Chayayadanta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayanta Rastam Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Bhava Bhavita Deva Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusa Suktarya Meva Nigama Pratitaistavanti Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasarpati Bhavita Bhistabirya Eva Nichirupa Daya Kalabi Goloka Eva Nivasata Akhil-atma bhuto Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santak Sadeva Hidayasa Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukhalani Mainatistana Anavataram Akarod Bhuvanesu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pamamyo Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhuvato Jagaranda Koti Koti Svasesu Vasadadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahma Niskalam Anantam Asesa Bhutam Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Mayahi Yasya Jagaranda Satani Sute Tragunya Tad Visaya Vida Vitayamano Sadvavalambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Ananda Chinmayara Satmataya Manasu Yaprani Nampatirufulam Swaratamul Petya Lila Yatena Bhuvanani Jaya Jasram Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Goloka Namni Nijadamni Tale Chitasya Devi Maheswari Dama Satesu Tesu Tete Prabhava Nichaya Vitascha Yena Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Shastista Tipulai Sada Vasaktireka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Chanurupam Abhyasya Chesta Tesa Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Siram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesa Yoga Sanjayate Nahita Taprita Kaste Hetu Yasambutam Adpitata Samapaitika Yat Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Departure Evita Santanam Abhyupetya Dipayate Vitetu Samanu Dharma Yastadra Gevi Hicha Vishnutaya Vibhati Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Yakarna Narlava Jale Balatisma Yoga Nidram Ananta Jagaranda Saroma Kupa Adhara Shaktim Avalambya Param Swamurtim Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Yasyaika Nisvasit Kalamata Avalambya Jivanti Loma Villaja Jagaranda Nata Vishnur Mahansa Yasya Kalaviseso Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Vasmanya Tasma Sakalesana Jesu Tejas Sriyam Kiyat Pakatayat Apitadpratat Brahmaya Esa Jagadanda Vidana Karta Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidayakam Vazdwande Pranama Samayasa Kanadi Raja Vignan Vihantam Alamasi Jagatrayasya Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Agnir Mahiga Ganamambu Marudisasya Kalasta Tatva Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Amcha Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Yas Chaksuresa Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Sunamurti Teja Yasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Dharma Papa Nichaya Sutastapam Sid Brahma Dikita Patakava Deasta Jiva Yadata Mata Vibhava Prakatapabhava Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Yastrendra Gopa Matavendra Mahosva Karma Bandhan Rupa Valabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdhati Kintuja Bhakti Bhajam Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Yam Kroda Kamasa Japranayadibiti Vatsalya Moho Guru Gora Vasevya Bhava Santinti Tasya Sadrisim Taramapurete Govindam Adi-purusham Tamaham bhajami Shaya Kanta Kanta Paramapurusha Kaputara Vajramabhumi Chintamani Ganamayeto Yam Amritam Kata Ganam Yam Gamanam Apivam Sipriyasa Kichiranandam Jyoti Param Apitata Swadhyam Apichasa Yatra Shiradi Vishravati Shiravi Vyasta Suman Nimesa Dakyava Rajatina Hiyatripika Samaya Bajay Svita Dutam Tamaham Ihagolakamitiam Vedantaste Santaksati Virat Sharav Kati Paye Shri Guru Vastika prayers ki jai. The spiritual master is receiving benedictions from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence out from my respectful basin. At the lotus feet of such spiritual master is an ocean of auspicious quality. Chanting the holy name, dancing, ecstasy, singing, and playing musical instruments, the spiritual master is always gladdened by the sanctity movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion to his mind, sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. For my respectful obeisance to lotus feet is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. For my respectful obeisance to lotus feet is such spiritual master. Spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyst at that which is liquid, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavat Prasadi, he is satisfied to offer my respectful obeisance to lotus feet is such spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal passion of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful obeisance to lotus feet is such spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he's expert at assisting gopis who at different times with different tastes for arrangement for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavan. I offer my most humble obeisance to lotus feet is such spiritual master. A spiritual master to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he's the most competential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance to the lotus feet of such spiritual master, who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master. At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisance to the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantaraj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, Text 21. Soham tad darsana lada Viyogarti yuta prabhu Gamishe dayitam tasya Badarya mandalam. Sa'aham, thus myself, tat, his, darshana, audience, alada, pleasure, viyoga, without that, artiyuta, afflicted by distress, prabho, my dear sir, gamishe, shall go, dayitam, so instructed, tasya, his, badarashrama, badarikshana, badarikashrama, in the Himalayas, mandalam, association. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. My dear Vidura, now I am mad for want of the pleasure of seeing him, meaning Krishna. And just to mitigate this, I am now proceeding to Badarik Ashrama in the Himalayas for association, as I have been instructed by him, meaning Krishna. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. A pure devotee of the Lord, of the standard of Uddhava, constantly associates with the Lord in the double perception of simultaneous separation and meeting. The pure devotee is not for a moment unengaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. Execution of the Lord's service is the main occupation of the pure devotee. Uddhava's separation from the Lord was unbearable, and therefore he started to Badarik Ashrama in obedience to the Lord's order, because the order of the Lord and the Lord himself are identical. As long as one is engaged in the execution of the order of the Lord, there is no factual separation from him, meaning Krishna. My dear Vidura, now I am mad for want of the pleasure of seeing him, and just to mitigate this, I am now proceeding to Badarik Ashrama in the Himalayas for association, as I have been instructed by him. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we're very fortunate that Prabhupada translated and gave purports to the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, without which we would be all confused about what is the purpose of life and how to attain it. So this great, unfathomable benediction, due to the austerity and dedication of Srila Prabhupada to his Guru and to Krishna, is a monumental work. And this is one of the main themes of our Ananda Mela this year. We're going to have a big display about the Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as living in the mode of goodness. Because the Srimad Bhagavatam is the summum bonum literature for understanding Krishna, as is Bhagavad Gita. These are the 2 best Vedic scriptures, and there's no parallel to them. And these 2 scriptures are read and studied all over the universe, not only on the earth. That's how important they are. And once we realize this, then we can worship Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, like the deity, because of the super excellent information about who is Krishna, how to serve Krishna, and how to attain eternal association with the Lord. So this is the key word, association. Everything depends on that. If you ask me, what is the most important thing in Krishna consciousness? Even more important than chanting Hare Krishna is associating always with genuine devotees. Because if you associate always with genuine devotees, you will also chant. If you chant in a secluded place without that association, you will at one point stop chanting. But if you always are in association with genuine devotees, you'll never stop chanting, because that's all they do. They chant, and they dance, and they feast, and they hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and they go on Sankirtan, and they distribute Prabhupada's books, and they worship the deity. This is the life of a devotee, and there is, as it says here, the pure devotee is not for a moment unengaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. In other words, there's no vacation. There's no downtime. If you talk about downtime, down into ignorance time, that's what it means. So, devotee never wants to be separated from Krishna, because following Krishna's order and Krishna are the same thing. If you want to associate always with Krishna, follow his orders, follow his instructions. That means you're associating with Krishna at all times. So there's a lot of interesting things to say about association. So if we look at the Canto 3, Chapter 2, text number 7, it says, Sri Uddhava said, "My dear Vidura, the Son of the world," Son meaning S-U-N, not S-O-N, the Son of the world, Lord Krishna, has said, and our house has now been swallowed by the great snake of time. What can I say to you about our welfare? So, in the purport, it says, the comparison of Krishna to the sun is very appropriate. As soon as the sun sets, darkness automatically appears. But the darkness experienced by the common man does not affect the sun itself, either at the time of sunrise or of sunset. Lord Krishna's appearance and disappearance are exactly like that of the sun. He appears and disappears in innumerable universes, and as long as he is present in a particular universe, there is all transcendental light in that universe. But the universe from which he passes away is put into darkness. His pastimes, however, are everlasting. The Lord is always present in some universe, just as the sun is present in either the eastern or the western hemisphere. The sun is always present either in India or in America, but when the sun is present in India, the American land is in darkness, and when the sun is present in America, the Indian hemisphere is in darkness. The sun appears in the morning and gradually rises to the meridian, and then again sets in one hemisphere while simultaneously rising in another. So Lord Krishna's disappearance in one universe and the beginning of his different pastimes in another take place simultaneously. As soon as one pastime is finished here, it is manifested in another universe. And thus his Nitya Lila, or eternal pastimes, are going on without ending. As the sunrise takes place once in 24 hours, similarly, the pastimes of Lord Krishna take place in the universe once in the daytime of Brahma, the account of which is given in the Bhagavad Gita as 4,300,000,000 solar years. But wherever the Lord is present, all his different pastimes, as described in the revealed scriptures, take place at regular intervals. The sunset, as at sunset, the snakes become powerful, thieves are encouraged, ghosts become active, the lotus becomes disfigured, and the Chakravakti laments. So with the disappearance of Lord Krishna, the atheists feel enlivened, and the devotees become sorry. Well, that is sort of very gloomy, but actually, because the devotee never lets go of Krishna's lotus feet and Krishna's instructions that sun never sets for the devotee. Therefore, how do you never let go of Krishna's lotus feet, never let go of Krishna's devotional service and instructions? It's through association. Association is the most important thing in spiritual life. And we cannot emphasize this enough. But there's a lot of evidence showing what happens when one does not associate with the devotees. This is explained in chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 55. So in one of the paragraphs it says, the word mat parama refers to one who considers the association of Krishna in his supreme abode to be the highest perfection of life. Such a person does not wish to be elevated to the higher planets, such as the moon or sun or heavenly planets, or even the highest planet of this universe, Brahmaloka. He has no attraction for that. He is only attracted to being transferred to the spiritual sky. And even in the spiritual sky, he's not satisfied with merging into the glowing Brahmajyoti effulgence, for he wants to enter the highest spiritual planet, namely Krishnaloka, Goloka Vrindavana. He has full knowledge of that planet, and therefore he is not interested in any other. As indicated by the word mat bhakta, he fully engages in devotional service, specifically in the 9 processes of devotional engagement: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshiping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering prayers, carrying out the orders of the Lord, making friends with him, and surrendering everything to him. One can engage in all 9 devotional processes, or 8, or 7, or at least in one, and that will surely make one perfect. So this very important verse, it says, Mat karma krin, mat paramo, mat sangha, sanghavarjita, nirvairak sarvabhute suya samam eti pandava. My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contamination of fruitive activities and mental speculation, and who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. So, how do we get this supreme goal of life fixed in our mind? It's through association. It's not through simply reading. It's not through simply coming to the temple and having darshan and leaving. It's through constant association throughout our life. So asat sangha tyaga e vaishnava achar. Lord Chaitanya said, how do you know someone's a devotee? Asat sangha tyaga. They give up the association of bad people, e vaishnava achar, and take the association always of genuine devotees. That's how you can tell if someone is a devotee. They avoid the association of non-devotees. So, what does that mean exactly? That means that, when you go on Sankirtan, you're associating with so many non-devotees, but on your terms, not on their terms. And our terms are, would you like this book? It's all about self-realization and how you become happy and fulfilled in life through significant activities, and the most significant activities, devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So this is association on our terms, not on their terms. Their terms are onion and garlic and meat and wine and illicit activities and so forth. That's their conditions for friendship. Our conditions for friendship is giving up those bad habits and taking up the positive habits of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So that making friendship with the Lord, always associating with devotees, always engaged in the service of the Lord, and this regular hearing and chanting and remembering the Lord, these are our conditions. So when I say our conditions, these are Krishna's conditions for making spiritual advancement. So then it says, the term Sanghavarjita is very significant. one should disassociate himself from persons who are against Krishna. Not only are the atheistic persons against Krishna, but so also are those who are attracted to fruitive activities. That means the karma yogis. And mental speculation, that is the jnanis. Therefore, the pure jnanis and the mystic yogis. Therefore, the pure form of devotional service described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11, Anya Bilasita Sunyam Gyanakarmadya Navritam Anukulyana Krishna Silanam Bhaktir Uttama. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami clearly states that if anyone wants to execute unalloyed devotional service, he must be freed of all kinds of material contamination. He must be freed from the association of persons who are addicted to fruitive activities and mental speculation. When freed from such unwanted association and from the contamination of material desires, one favorably cultivates knowledge of Krishna. That is called pure devotional service. So how do we become, we can understand being freed of unwanted association, but how can we become free from the contamination of material desires? Because that could go on for a long time in our minds due to previous experiences that we'd have in sense gratification. So that we have to pray to Guru and Krishna. Just like Prahlad Maharaj, when he was offered any benediction he wants, he said, "My dear Lord, if you insist on giving me a benediction, then please bless me that I have no more material desires and I only desire to serve you." So there it is. Prahlad Maharaj, only 5 years old, he's understood what the most dangerous thing is in a person's life, and that is having material or entertaining material desires. So we should always be praying to the Lord, please free me from all these material desires so I can always engage in your service. We cannot always engage in Krishna's service as long as we have material desires. They will take us away, either periodically or for good. So therefore, this downtime, meaning down in ignorance time, has to be given up. And that can only happen when we have completely replaced all material desires with pure spiritual desires to always be engaged in Krishna's service. Therefore it says, when freed from such unwanted association and from the contamination of material desires, one favorably cultivates knowledge of Krishna. That is called pure devotional service. So you see these conditions, we need to give up bad association and give up all material desires and replace them with pure desires to always please Krishna by following our gurus, Shiksha and Diksha gurus' instructions. So then it says, one should think of Krishna. Then it says, Anukul yasya sankalpa pratikul yasya varjanam. Hari Bhakti Vilasa 11.676. One should think of Krishna and act for Krishna favorably, not unfavorably. Kamsa was an enemy of Krishna's. From the very beginning of Kamsa's birth, from the very beginning of Krishna's birth, Kamsa planned in so many ways to kill him. And because he was always unsuccessful, he was always thinking of Krishna. Thus, while working, while eating, and while sleeping, he was always Krishna conscious in every respect, but that Krishna consciousness was not favorable. And therefore, in spite of his always thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day, he was considered a demon, and Krishna at last killed him. Of course, anyone who is killed by Krishna attains salvation immediately, but that is not the aim of the pure devotee. The pure devotee does not even want salvation. He does not want to be transferred even to the highest planet, Goloka Vrindavanam. His only objective is to serve Krishna wherever he may be. So this seems to be a little bit of a contradiction, because in the same paragraph, in the beginning, he says, the devotee has no attraction. He says, the devotee is only attracted to being transferred to the spiritual sky. And even in the spiritual sky, he's not satisfied with merging into the glowing Brahma Jyoti effulgence, for he wants to enter the highest spiritual planet, namely Krishna Loka, Goloka, Vrindavan. He has full knowledge of that planet, and therefore he is not interested in any other. And then in the same paragraph, he says, he, meaning the devotee, does not want to be transferred even to the highest planet, Goloka Vrindavana. His only objective is to serve Krishna wherever he may be. Well, this is very interesting, isn't it? The same paragraph. It seems, Prabhupada seems to be contradicting himself, but actually it is not, because when we are engaged in devotional service purely, that is also the spiritual world, wherever that may be. It could be in the material world, it could be in the spiritual world. So, that it all depends on what our motive is in life. If our motive is to please Krishna, well, that's the motive of the gopis also. And if we actually work completely in that mindset, we're actually in the spiritual world. Our activities are spiritual. Our desires are spiritual. Our aspirations are spiritual. So that means we're in the spiritual world, even though we might be in the material world. Right? And this was exhibited by Prabhupada himself. And any devotees who came close to him, they saw this. And Prabhupada was not acting in the material world. He was acting spiritually all the time. And his whole mind was focused on pleasing Krishna and through the instructions of his guru. So he was not he looked like he's in the material world, but actually he was under, and this is explained in Bhagavad Gita also, in the 9th chapter, where it says, Mahatmana Tumam Partha Daivim Pakritim Asritaha Bhajanti Ananya Manaso Gyatva Bhutadim Avyayam. O son of Prita, Arjuna, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So, in the purport, Prabhupada says, in this verse, the description of the Mahatma is clearly given. The first sign of the Mahatma is that he is already situated in the divine nature. What does it mean, divine nature? It's spiritual world. Divine nature. The divine means spiritual, and nature, it means the environment in which you're functioning. So the divine nature means the spiritual world, not the material world. He is not under the control of material nature. That means he's not in the material world, right? Because he's in the divine nature. And how is this affected? That is explained in the 7th chapter. One who surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, at once becomes freed from the control of material nature. That is the qualification. So where is that explained in the 7th chapter? Let's just go to that quickly. That is the following verse. Daivihi esa gunamai mama maya duratya mam evaye prapadyante maya me tam tarantite. Krishna says, the divine energy of mind, consisting of 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Okay, and then a little bit later on it says, Te samgyani nitya mukta yukta eka bhaktir sisyate priyo higyani notyartam ahamsa cha mama priya. Of these persons, the ones who are pious, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him and he is dear to me. Udara sarva evaite jnanitvat maiva me matam astita sahiyukta atma mam evan uttamam gatim. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. So, here are some verses in the 7th chapter, as Prabhupada says here. He says, one can become free from the control of material nature as soon as he surrenders his soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the preliminary formula. Being marginal potency, as soon as the living entity is freed from the control of material nature, he is put under the guidance of the spiritual nature. The guidance of the spiritual nature is called Daivi Prakriti, divine nature. So, when one is promoted in that way, by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one attains the stage of a great soul, Mahatma. Okay, so that is a very important point. And the Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the original Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. There is no doubt about it. Such a Mahatma or great soul develops through association with other Mahatmas. So that is our theme today, the absolute value of association with genuine devotees. Pure devotees are not even attracted by Krishna's other features, such as the four-armed Mahavishnu. They are simply attracted by the two-armed form of Krishna. They are not attracted to other features of Krishna, nor are they concerned with any form of a demigod or of a human being. They meditate only upon Krishna in Krishna consciousness. They are always engaged in the unswerving service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness. So there we have it. So we started in the 11th chapter, 55th verse, and we went to 9th chapter, 13th verse, and then we went to 7th chapter, verses 17 and 18. All this is explaining how we can make tangible spiritual advancement, and if we completely surrender to the Lord, no vacations involved, only engaged in the service of the Lord, then we're no longer functioning in the material world. As it says here, it says, one who surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, at once becomes freed from the control of material nature. He is not under the control of material nature. That is the qualification. One can become free from the control of material nature as soon as he surrenders his soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the preliminary formula. Just like Prabhupada said once, that my devotees are perfect, meaning they're perfectly situated in devotional service. What remains is to perfect the perfectness. What an amazing statement he made. To perfect the perfectness. So that means that one must always continue in progressive spiritual advancement, always increasing our devotional service, our devotional thoughts, our devotional activities, our devotional desires. It should be always increasing. That is, staying in Krishna consciousness forever. So, giving up bad association, accepting good association, and thus while working, while eating, and while sleeping, he, meaning Kamsa, was always Krishna conscious in every respect, but that Krishna consciousness was not favorable, and therefore in spite of his always thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day, he was considered a demon, and Krishna at last killed him. Of course, anyone who is killed by Krishna attains salvation immediately, but that is not the aim of the pure devotee. The pure devotee does not even want salvation. He does not want to be transferred even to the highest planet, Goloka Vrindavan. His only objective is to serve Krishna wherever he may be. A devotee of Krishna is friendly to everyone. Therefore, it is said here that he has no enemy, nirvaira. How is that? How is this? A devotee situated in Krishna consciousness knows that only devotional service to Krishna can relieve a person from all problems of life. He has personal experience of this. Yeah, his problems went away, or his or her problems went away by being always engaged in devotional service. He has personal experience of this, and therefore he wants to introduce this system, Krishna consciousness, into human society. There are many examples in history of devotees of the Lord who risked their lives for spreading of God consciousness. The favorite example of Lord is Lord Jesus Christ. He was crucified by the non-devotees, but he sacrificed his life for spreading God consciousness. Of course, it would be superficial to understand that he was killed. That's a very big statement there, because the Christians insist that he was killed and then he resurrected. But that's another subject. We can talk about that another time. Of course, it would be superficial to understand he was killed. Similarly, in India, also there are many examples, such as Thakur Haridas and Prahlada Maharaj. Why such risk? Why did they take such risk? Because they wanted to spread Krishna consciousness, and it is difficult. A Krishna conscious person knows that if a man is suffering, it is due to his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. Therefore, the highest benefit one can render to human society is relieving one's neighbor from all material problems. In such a way, a pure devotee is engaged in the service of the Lord. Now we can imagine how merciful Krishna is to those engaged in his service, risking everything for him. Therefore, it is certain that such persons must reach the supreme planet after leaving the body. Okay, so now we see the importance of association, the importance of constantly being engaged in devotional service, the absolute importance of having only spiritual desires to please Guru and Krishna, and getting rid of all the material desires, the latent material desires that we have from birth to birth. And to understand, as it says, now we can imagine how merciful Krishna is to those engaged in his service. So this is also validated a little bit later on in the 18th chapter, where it says, 68th and 69th verse, Ya idam paramam guyam mad bhakti svavidasyati bhaktim mai param kritva mam ivaisasya samsaya nachatasman manusyesu kaschit me priyakritamam bhavita nachame tasmat anya priyataro bhuvi. For one who explains this supreme secret, that means Bhagavad Gita, Rajavidyam, Rajaguyam. Rajaguyam's the king of all secrets, right? So, this supreme secret, Bhagavad Gita, to devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. There it is. You want to be dear to Krishna? Now we have the formula. Be always engaged in his service, learn Bhagavad Gita, and preach it to others. Then you will be very dear to Krishna, and he will be very, very dedicated to helping you continue to make spiritual advancement. One second. So, but that's not all. There's a lot more to be said about this, especially association with the Lord. So it's said in the second canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, in the second canto, third chapter, text number 17. The verse says, both by rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all-good personality of Godhead. So right now, we're not losing time. Why? Because we're discussing topics of the supreme all-good personality of Godhead. People who go to a cricket game or a baseball game or a football game or a soccer game or a hockey game, they're wasting their time. They go to the casino, they're wasting their time. They go to the nightclub, they're wasting their time. They go to mundane schools, they're wasting their time. All these things are a waste of time because it will not help you go back to Godhead. In fact, it'll help you not to go back to Godhead. So you have to make some decisions in life. This verse indirectly confirms the greater importance of utilizing the human form of life to realize our lost relationship with the Supreme Lord by acceleration of devotional service. Time and tide wait for no man. This is a big proverb in English. Time and tide. The tide doesn't wait for anyone. You know, you say, oh, we're having such a nice time at the beach, and we built this sandcastle, and I hope the high tide doesn't come in and wipe it out so that we can enjoy it some more. No, the high tide's going to come in whether you like it or not. There was just one king in the Scandinavian countries, and he was considered the most powerful king in the world at that time. And to instruct the people, he went to the beach and sat near the ocean at low tide. And when the day progressed and it was coming near night, the tide started rising, right? And everyone was there, and he told everyone to come and see. He was going to give them a serious instruction. What was the instruction? He ordered the ocean not to have a high tide, so he could sit in his bench and enjoy the atmosphere. But the ocean didn't listen to him. So that was instructive. You see, people thought he was the most powerful man in the whole world. But actually, the most powerful person is Krishna. And time and tide wait for no man. You know, you can say, I order you not to rise. No, tide's going to come in and wash away the sandcastle and wash away the king and his big throne on the beach. So we see time and tide wait for no man. So the time indicated by the sunrise and the sunset will be uselessly wasted if such time is not properly utilized for realizing identification of spiritual values. Wow, identification of spiritual values, that's an interesting phrase. What is the highest spiritual value? It's devotional service meant to please Krishna and engaging in all kinds of services for the pleasure of the Lord. Even a fraction of the duration of life wasted cannot be compensated by any amount of gold. In other words, you can't buy back even 1 second that's passed, no matter how much money you have. Human life is simply awarded to a living entity, jiva, so that he can realize his spiritual identity and his permanent source of happiness. And that is Krishna's service. A living being, especially the human being, is seeking happiness because happiness is the natural situation of the living entity. But he is vainly seeking happiness in the material atmosphere. A living being is constitutionally a spiritual spark of the complete whole, and his happiness can be perfectly perceived in spiritual activities. The Lord is the complete spiritual whole, and his name, form, quality, pastimes, entourage, and personality are all identical with him. Once a person comes into contact with any one of the above-mentioned energies of the Lord through the proper channel of devotional service, the door to perfection is immediately opened. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.40, the Lord has explained such contact in the following words: endeavors in devotional service are never baffled, nor is there failure. A slight beginning of such activities is sufficient even to deliver a person from the great ocean of material fears. So, Nahabhikramanastusthi pratijaya navidyate swalpam apiyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. This is in the, where is that verse? Second chapter, 40th verse. Let's see what it says. Nahabhikramanastusthi pratijaya navidyate. But the translation there is, in this endeavor, meaning devotional service, there's no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. But see, this is an alternate translation to that. It says, endeavors in devotional service are never baffled, nor is there failure. A slight beginning of such activities is sufficient even to deliver a person from the great ocean of material fears. What is the great ocean of material fears? That is, taking birth as an animal or insect or a rat or whatever in the next life. Believe me, if you know what your next birth is going to be, and it's going to be some low animal, you would be very fearful. After having the human body with all the assets we have in the human body, you take birth as a cockroach or a microbe in a sewer. Oh my God, that would be the worst thing imaginable, right? But that happens a lot. That happens a lot. One time Prabhupada said that Indira Gandhi, Nehru took birth as a dog in Sweden. Very interesting. Unfortunate for him, though. 2, 3. Okay, so then it says, oral realization. No, it says, as a highly potent drug injected intravenously acts at once on the whole body, the transcendental topics of the Lord injected through the ear of the pure devotee of the Lord can act very efficiently. Oral realization of the transcendental messages implies total realization, just as fructification of one part of a tree implies fructification of all other parts. This realization for a moment in the association of pure devotees like Sukadeva Goswami prepares one's complete life for eternity. In other words, a moment's association with a pure devotee is enough to change your life for the rest of your life and to actually go back to Godhead. A moment's association. Right? And thus the sun fails to rob the pure devotee of his duration of life, inasmuch as he is constantly busy in the devotional service to the Lord, purifying his existence. Death is a symptom of the material infection of the eternal living being. Only due to material infection is the eternal living entity subjected to the law of birth, death, old age, and disease. The materialistic way of pious activities like charity is recommended in the Smriti Shastras, as quoted by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Money given in charity to a suitable person is guaranteed bank balance in the next life. Whoa. What does that mean? Such charity to a non-Brahmana without Brahminical qualification, the money is returned in the next life in the same proportion. So if you give money to an unqualified Brahmana, you'll get that same amount back in the next life. If it is given in charity to a half-educated Brahmana, even then the money is returned double. So if you give it to a half-educated Brahmana, in the next life you get it double back. If the money is given in charity to a learned and fully qualified Brahmana, the money is returned 100 and 1,000 times. And if the money is given to a Veda Paraga, one who has factually realized the path of the Vedas, it is returned by unlimited multiplication. Whoa. you want to make an investment, you better give your money right away to bona fide devotees, meaning just like yesterday, I got a donation of $100,000. Right. You know who gave it to me? Synergy International School. Thanks to Bhakti Priya Devidasi, who is the director of that school now, and she has worked so hard to make it a success, and it is a success now. And because of that, I asked the owner of Vijay Raman if she could make a $100,000 donation to the temple, and she said, "Yes, of course. I'm so happy you even asked me." He says, "You want to take more? Take more." I said, "No, I don't need more right now. I might a little bit later on. But thank you very much." So you see, this is all auspiciousness. Why? Because people are taking Krishna consciousness seriously, right? And they're working hard to please Guru and Krishna. So, it says, the ultimate end of Vedic knowledge is realization of the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Vedaishcha sarver aham eva vedya. There is a guarantee of monies being returned if given in charity, regardless of the proportion. Similarly, whether you give $1 or you give $1 million, you're going to get it back. And if you become a pure devotee, you'll get it back unlimitedly in the next life. Just like Prabhupada got an unlimited amount of money while he was preaching, and he used it all in the service of Krishna. And he started with nothing. At 70 years old, he started with nothing. And he built up a huge organization that has billions of dollars of assets now. And because he used every penny, if you read his biography, you'll see that when he first came to America, he was counting every penny. And it says, today we collected $1.76, and I used 50 cents to buy some apples. And it's there. You can see it. It goes on for like a year like that. Right? He was accounting of every penny that he was getting, and he was showing how he was spending it. That's how meticulous he was. Right? Because every penny should be spent only for Krishna, not for anything else. Right? And he says, on the goodwill of Krishna, devotees will receive many donations. If they use even 1 penny for their personal sense gratification, they go to hell. Whoa. That's in Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. If you want to read it, you'll see that quote. He said they go to hell, even if they misuse 1 penny. There is a guarantee of monies being returned if given in charity, regardless of the proportion. Similarly, a moment passed in the association of pure devotee by hearing and chanting the transcendental messages of the Lord is a perfect guarantee for eternal life, for returning home back to Godhead. Madama gatva punar janmana vidyate. In other words, a devotee of the Lord is guaranteed eternal life. A devotee's old age or disease in the present life is but an impetus to such guaranteed eternal life. Okay, so what does that mean? The devotee's old age or disease in the present life is but an impetus to such guaranteed eternal life. That means that when you begin to see, okay, I'm getting dizzy, or my eyesight is beginning to fail, my teeth are falling out, my hair is going bald, and money is going down, and people don't pay any attention to me anymore, this thing, that thing. That's an impetus to get real serious about Krishna consciousness. It's not something negative for the devotee. It's just a strong reminder that, hey, my sojourn in the material world is coming to a quick end. I better get really serious now. So, So a devotee's old age or disease in the present life is but an impetus to such guaranteed eternal life. So in other words, the fact that you're getting older and the youth is diminishing and the old age is setting in, that's just an impetus for the devotee to get more and more serious about spiritual life. Okay, so stop right there. There's a lot more to say about association, but we'll leave that for tomorrow. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So we're in the Veda. Oh yeah. So when Rama descended on the earth, did he also have transcendental body like Krishna or material one?
Transcendental. He is Krishna. He's an expansion of Narayana.
And then same with Sita Devi as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why she was never really kidnapped. It was a fake Sita that was kidnapped.
Maya
Yeah, Maya Sita. No one can touch her. Is that the question?
Yeah, that was the question.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, so the so-called the karmis who seem to be extremely materially wealthy, based on this principle, at some point in their prior lives, they might have donated money to a pure devotee.
Yeah, they have what's called agyata sukriti, imperceptible spiritual advancement. Yeah, like for example, Trump. Do you know that Trump helped the devotees? He gave a property that had in downtown Manhattan that had not been built up yet to the devotees for free so they could construct their Rath Yatra card. That's probably why he got elected President of the United States, because he did that service. And he didn't realize what he was doing, but he got some agyata sukriti. He should have continued associating and doing good things for the devotees. He would have been elected the second term, and he could have gone back to Godhead in this lifetime. But unfortunately, he was more attached to hamburger than to chanting Hare Krishna. That's how dangerous a hamburger is, right?
I just want to share actually, because a lot of people, especially the Jain community or some other, they are also believe in
Which
the
community?
Jain community. Jain. Or the mostly Gujarati, they believe in like a lot of this cow feeding and cows and donation and all, because and they get actually benefited.
Hey, how come they're so rich?
Yeah, and that community is rich actually.
The Gujaratis, and especially the Jains, not all of them, but many of them are very wealthy, especially in India, very wealthy.
So I'm talking about the specific, it's my very specific region, like from Jalgaon. There is a very rich jeweler, and he's very wealthy person, Bafna. And then...
what's his name?
Bafna.
Bafna.
Yeah, so they are big jewelers, and they are very, very rich actually.
In Gujarat.
Yeah, he's... I think Marwadi or something like that. So there is another caste in Marwadi.
Well, Marwaris also, they're very generous.
Yeah, they are generous. But
funding Krishna.
Yeah, so actually they have maintained a very nice, and he is donating a lot, he maintained a very big Goshala, all Giri cows, and very, very well maintained and huge Goshala. And there are so many people employed, and he is funding that actually a lot. I mean, he's taking care of, he's not asking even donation, but he taking care of all those cows, and actually is helping him a lot in terms of his prosperity.
Cow is the symbol of prosperity and peace.
Yeah.
You take care of the cows.
His business
take care of
good
you.
Actually.
Huh?
And his business is doing very good actually with that one. But they are already pious and they help a lot in terms of cows and a lot.
Yeah. Charity. You know, you give charity to a person who is worthy of it. If you give a charity to an unworthy person, you get 1/6 of their karma, bad karma. You give charity to a worthy person. Well, you just read, in the second canto, third chapter, 17th verse. You give you give charity to a fully qualified brahmana. The money is returned 100 and 1,000 times. And if the money is given to a Veda Paraga, one who has factually realized the path of the Vedas, it is returned by unlimited multiplication. Unlimited multiplication. Imagine what that is. So get your checkbooks out.
So Maharaj, if that return is due, then aren't we forced to take another life again as humans?
Well, no. If you go back to God, it's given to your relatives.
Okay.
In the next life. Yeah. So now you know how to really make money. Giving charity to pushing forward Krishna consciousness. Any other questions? Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So did you?
I got that, Maharaj. So I'm working on it.
Okay. Okay.
Today
Good.
but it's good. We use succinctly summarize. And that takes a lot of time.
I worked on it all day yesterday. I didn't finish till 10 o'clock at night. It started
It takes
like
a lot
9
of time
o'clock
to
in the
get
morning.
it so.
Yeah, yeah. I had to write it out, and then I kept eliminating things as much as I could. I mean, if you see ways of eliminating some of the
Yeah,
things.
I'm trying to do it somewhat visually, whatever
Yeah.
implementing today, so that they can process it.
Okay.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Vandamuhi Savadana Mate Savadana Mate Jahara Prasade Bhai E Baba Toriya Jai Krishna Prapti ho ja hoite ho ja hoite Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Mukha Padma Adana Koriyo Mane Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati जे प्रसादे पूरे सर्वा आशा चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो प्रेम भक्ति जाहा होइते अविद्या विनाश जाइते वेदे गाय जाहार चरितो श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनार बंधु लोकेनाथ लोके जीवाना हा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पदा छाया एबे जास गोशिक त्रिभुवाना प्रभु पाद पतित पवाना जय प्रभु पदा जयो प्रभु पदा जयो प्रभु पदा जयो प्रभु पदा प्रभु पदा जय नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी इति नामिने भूतले नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाशता देशतारिणे वाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाशता देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo.
His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Bhakti Radha, Shri Vasudhi Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Mayapur Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to Samaveda, all glories to Samaveda, all glories to Samaveda, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Patita Pavan ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great honor. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. I only wish to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is perfection and fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord.